being drafted back at home has been the most special thing that I could ever experience because you grew up here. When you're at the games, I'm seeing my second grade teacher in the crowd, my coaches, you know,
Yeah.
my big influencers that helped me get to where I was at. Playing at home was such a big thing for me. I mean, a big energy.
Yeah.
I was known as a big guy, but I brought
You
the
still are a
energy
big
with
guy.
it. And so,
Just so you know, you still a big guy. Let's see, when I was in Tucson with a lot of them. You got T-Mac, Tetaroa, McMillan down there, Jacob Manu, and it's like this big family culture, man.
Right.
I really love that about like the culture. But I do have a question for you. Samoans, Hawaiians, and Tongans. What is like the difference? What I don't, because I know they're very proud. Like every time I see the boys, they make a play, they do like that, and I'm like, oh, he's Tongan. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So like that whole dynamic, because like for a long time I only knew Hawaii, the island.
Right.
So you're like, okay, then you start realizing there's Samoans and there's Tongans, and that island chain is so much bigger. Like, just I really want to know about the culture. I've been wanting to talk to somebody about it, and I've never had the opportunity.
Right. I mean, these are the many islands in the Polynesian chain, which consist of Hawaii, Tonga, Samoa, Fiji, Tahiti, and there's other islands too, and it's just a big representation of that side of the waters.
Yeah.
And, it's all about family, the culture, football embodies how we are physical and in our just history, in battling, and it's just a big old story of the Polynesian culture.
Yeah. Because I mean, I've been around it. My kid has been exposed to it, and even being up at Washington. And one of the best things that I love, like the kids, when I meet the kids, they're always so polite. Yes, sir. No, sir. And I love, and I hope I'm not offensive. It's the, hey, brother. I love that, bro. I think that is just because it feels so welcoming and so like, come on in, you're part of the family. So like when you were in the islands, like you came over here at a young age, huh?
Exactly. We were, I was born in the islands, and my family came here. My parents traveled here on a farmer's visa, trying to come here and work the fruits and vegetables in the fields. And, I was able to grow up here, with foreign parents. And so they were allowed to teach me the culture while learning this, American culture, so to speak, growing up. And it was seeing it back from now, man, my parents had really started something that has allowed my life to flourish here, and to create opportunities, find them, and maximize on them, like the NFL.
Right. So when you came here, how old were you when you first came to the I guess the mainland, right?
Right. Okay. I was only but a few months.
Oh, you're a baby.
Right. And so, we came here and just grew up in humble beginnings. Trying to start off, and grew up with 6 kids in a 2-bedroom apartment. And so I saw little humble beginnings in the early part of my life, and from foreigner parents, they've taught me to be rooted and humble through all of my raisings, or all my career and all that. And so I contribute my life to them. I miss mom and dad.
Yeah, no, I totally, man. I oh my God, I'm so sorry. I did when I was looking up your information. I obviously saw about your father, and I'm so sorry
Oh,
about that.
no, yeah,
And I was just like, oh my God. And it always makes you realize, like, man, don't take it for granted.
right,
Those phone calls from mom and dad, one day they're gonna stop, and you're gonna realize like how much you missed them. But so like you went to Mesa, right? You
right.
went to Mesa High School. And like what was that like for you? Like you come from the islands and then you're here in the United States. Was it like a cultural shock where I gotta believe that you were here so young that
Right.
you kind of grew up in the culture, so it probably wasn't a big deal for you in school.
Exactly. I mean, my older siblings, that was a culture shock for
Yeah,
them, but growing up into the system, I was able to adapt pretty well, and was able to keep my identity as an
yeah,
islander,
yeah,
and just play football, and that opportunity allowed me to chase my citizenship. Football provided me a ticket
yeah.
to be naturalized.
Me too.
It was such a thing in my journey to have football bless my life
Yeah,
and continue to bless my life after
yeah,
football.
yeah. So now, when you went to USC, like I remember when the whole recruiting process, like what other schools recruited you, like when you were coming out of high school? Because I know you went to USC, but what were the other schools that came along and offered you?
I've had some of the top schools from my high school year kind of stay with me, like Nebraska.
Okay, yeah,
They were allowed to follow me through my junior college years
okay,
as a non-qualifier. Had some difficulties getting to the next level
yeah,
because the citizenship thing,
right,
and so I had to kind of become an agent of myself,
right, right.
just to kind of say, "Hey, man, I'm known as a WAP without papers,"
Oh my God.
So I'm able to block for your quarterback if you can give me this opportunity, pay for my schooling.
He's like, whatever the hustle is, we're traded off. So you
Right.
said you were a non-qualifier. Like, what do you feel like that was because of like the language barrier, or was it something that you feel like, Deuce, I should have done better, or was it just a cultural thing where it was you had to catch up?
For sure. I mean, it's I had to learn for grades for one. You can't advance anything if you're not competent in the classroom,
Yeah,
and so it's that kind of hindered my progress going up. But just finding the sources through junior college
yeah,
and through to the pros.
yeah, yeah. So did that like really like kind of straighten you up when you realized like, damn, I could have my dreams are right here and I might lose them. Like, did that really make you like, hey, I need to straighten up and get my butt in gear?
They call me Deuce, and I get second chances, and it was a second chance,
Yeah,
to kind of clean up my career academically and
yeah,
just get right in the classroom so that I could perform.
yeah.
And so that's what it was.
Okay, okay. Now, once you got everything straight, you got to USC. What was that first day like, or that first week when you stepped on campus and it's USC Trojans, all that, like the whole mystique that comes with it?
Man, they were the number one school in the nation at the
Yeah.
time, and I was coming from Snow College in Utah,
Okay.
and that was like a turkey town, and
Turkey
so
Town.
they had one stoplight, and
And the whole town.
in the whole town, and it was difficult to get recruiting before the internet,
Yeah.
and so it was word of mouth
Yeah.
in my recruiting. They're like, check out this big guy, 400 pounder in E from Utah,
Okay.
and they're like, okay, let's go see and check on him, see if he's any good. And
Right.
so I love that. Before the huddle accounts, before all that, it was just word of mouth in
Yeah.
recruiting.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, my wife makes fun of my highlight tapes were on VHS
That's
and
okay,
the
man. I'm right
digital
there with
era.
you. I was the same way. We send out VHS
Right.
tapes, and you had to fill out the little applications instead of being like you said on internet, social media.
Right. Man, just growing up through that, it's been good. Truly believe if you're good anywhere, you'll be noticed,
Yeah, yeah,
and they're willing to find those gems out there. I mean, if you're in the recruiting process, it's a whole different game now.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
it's different, very different now.
just watching your last episode about that, the transfer portals and
Yeah,
all that
yeah.
stuff, it's man,
It's a
that's
lot
something.
going on right now with that portal. You got so many kids that feel like, well, I'm not getting what I want here, so I'm going to go over here. And it's like you really have to do your homework before you jump into that portal, and you almost need to know where you're going to land because there's so many kids that are still in that portal that were like, well, I'm mad with the coach. He's not giving me playing time. He doesn't like me. They jump in the portal, and once you're in that portal, you have nothing unless somebody comes and plucks you out of there.
Man, I could only imagine.
No, it's scary. It's very scary because I mean, if you saw that episode with my Deuce,
Yes, that's right.
yeah, he was talking about that and how scared he was. So you played with, oh gosh, you played with Matt Leinart, right? You blocked for Matt Leinart.
That's right.
What you played with him at the Cardinals as well.
That's right.
Okay, yeah. So y'all have a good history. Like, what was that like being at USC and playing with him? Like, I remember watching TV and you see Matt Leinart, Matt
Right.
Leinart, and you're like, wow, this is like a superstar already. So, what was he like at USC? Was he like Caleb Williams?
I mean, he was, man, USC. I mean, everybody was just trying to get a signature off this guy. I mean, just at that time when he was in his Heisman hunt, I mean,
Yeah.
he was doing really good in college, and we didn't get to see that transition for him in the pros, more than I would like to see. But as my teammate, my brother, I really love that guy, and his skills that took us and took USC on a whole nother level. And to see that he's broadcasting now, he's doing good. I wish, we could have had him more.
Yeah. No, he was a great guy. Was Reggie Bush was there with you then, or
Right.
no?
Reggie was there.
Okay, yeah, because I remember watching him and the amazing stuff that he was doing. And it's funny that we were talking about NIL and now Reggie Bush, and it was like, here's a guy that got his Heisman Trophy taken away for something that these kids are now like, here you go, money, 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 money. Here you go, take it, take it, take it. So, so you were only at USC for a year, right?
I was there for 2 years.
Oh, you were there for 2 years, okay. And so when you got drafted in the second round to the Cardinals. Like, what was that day like for you? I mean, like, take me through like who was there at your draft party. I'm sure you had your entire family, and I love the barbecue, by the way, bro. I just want you to know that is delicious.
Oh man, being drafted back at home has been the most special thing that I could ever experience because you grew up here. And when you're at the games, I'm seeing my second grade teacher in the crowd, my coaches,
Yeah.
my big influencers that helped me get to where I was at,
Right.
and so playing at home was such a big thing for me. I mean, a big energy.
Yeah.
I mean, I was known as a big guy, but I brought
You
the
still are a
energy
big
with
guy.
me. And so
Just so
and
you know, you still a big guy.
I mean, and it's just one of those things that it just pushes you, moves you
Yeah.
around,
Yeah.
and you feel that just at home and
Yeah.
like you're fighting for that cause, the Arizona, just everything that stands for. And so it was good.
No, that's one thing. I never got to play in front of like a home crowd. I mean, when we played against the Panthers, that was as close as I got back to North Carolina. But I can only imagine like being in the stands, or I'm sorry, being on the field and knowing that you got your mom, you got your classmates, teachers that are there supporting you, people who, like you said, who have been there through this whole journey, and now to see you on one of the largest stages ever, it was just like, wow. Like, so you're with the Cardinals, then you went to Tennessee, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I actually went to Seattle first,
Okay.
and then I got released there I was there for probably half a year.
So what was that like the first time you got released? Because I'm gonna be honest with you. When I first got cut, I thought my world had ended. I thought football was over. I didn't think I was like, Russell, how could you mess this up? This is the biggest mistake you've ever made. Is like, were you in that same panic mode, or were you kind of like, I got this?
No, for sure. Of course, it starts tugging at you. You start thinking of the time you got left,
Yeah.
and you start looking at what you can provide physically and even, with the numbers financially,
Yeah.
you're a veteran,
Yeah.
and there's always cheaper.
Hmm.
And so
Yes, there is.
they can invest into the new people just like that. And
Okay.
so like your job is it's not
Yeah.
guaranteed. There's no
NFL, not for
tomorrow.
long, brother.
Not
Not
for
for
long.
long. You know that.
Absolutely. And so you got to hit while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so getting in that starting role, you can start to see your time there and the competition.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so it's like, man, you kind of map it out in your mind at how long you got.
Yeah, you
you
do. You start like, let me see. Oh, these boys are coming in all the
Right.
time. Like when I watch, especially now, being out of the NFL for a while, and I watch these young athletes nowadays, and I'm like, oh my God, like I don't think I could play in the NFL now. Do you feel like you could play now?
No way. I mean, I don't miss the bumps and bruises,
Yeah, yeah,
the just so much effort to
yeah,
get there,
yeah, yeah. I
and
miss Sundays though, brother. I'm not gonna lie.
oh yeah, Sundays,
Sundays, the adrenaline coming out there, that grass. I
oh
do
my
miss
goodness.
that, and obviously the money too.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
as far as like the day-to-day grind, I don't miss that like that. I just
Right.
I'm past that.
I mean, it's such a violent game of chess,
Yeah, yeah,
and
constantly.
so it's you're constantly out there pushing the limits to your body,
Yeah.
and so I mean, even practice is
Yes, yes.
yeah.
Now I'm gonna ask you this question. I want to know who is the toughest opponent. Like for me, I've asked guys that have been on here, and I've even talked to like college guys. For me, it was Larry Allen, without a doubt. I can say that with my full chest. That
Right.
man, when I knew we were playing them, especially here at the Cardinals, and I was gearing up for the Cowboys, Larry Allen was the only person I was concerned about, because if you didn't bring your lunch and you weren't bringing the hard hat, he was going to kick your ass.
Absolutely. I mean, there was some gridiron greats out there for sure, but one that catches my attention, Bryant Young.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, this guy still had that forklift move
Yeah.
that would just, throw you all the way to the other side, and he would get a sack fumble easy. And so you had to pay attention to Bryant Young, or else he would cause havoc in there. And so he was one of the guys that welcome to the NFL
Yes.
with that forklift. Man.
Did he get you?
Oh yeah, did he get me? That's how I learned.
Got to balance. You can't lean it too far.
Right.
You get
And
that hump move.
exactly. I mean, I've seen that move. Reggie White threw it on Larry Allen, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah, it's grown man strength.
Oh my gosh. And so, yeah, he was still throwing that all the way to his like last years. He was still playing high level football, and so he was one to remember.
Yeah, no, I know that feeling, because I played against some really good offensive linemen, but it was like Larry Allen that game week, knowing that was on there, and I had Leonard Davis, so that helped me because he was just as big and massive. But
Right.
like you said, it was a week-long process. So all week long, 9-on-17, I'm going against Leonard, and it's like, oh my God. But then when I got to the game, it was like, okay, this is not too bad. I've been going against 350, 360
Wow.
all week, so it's not so bad. But that's one person that I talk about constantly. Now, for me, and I'm gonna ask this question because I asked my son this and we were talking about it. Where is the worst place to play as far as like hecklers? For me, it was the Raiders. Like as soon as we got off the bus, they're throwing stuff, they're rocking the bus, and you're like, these people are crazy, and the things that they say.
Absolutely.
Like,
I mean, Raiders is one for sure. Playing in conference games like against Seattle
yeah,
or against the Niners, they can be pretty rowdy in there too as well. And so, I mean, I would say Seattle has that can be hostile,
yeah, yes,
especially when playoffs is on the line, and that place is just jam packed. And so, definitely Seattle's one of those places. When Pete Carroll was coaching there at the time, Kansas City too. That's a loud stadium.
I like when they say the national anthem and they'd be like, and the home of the Chiefs. And it's like, I get chills when they do that. I was like, so that's a very loud place to play. Now, once you retired, okay, like how did you make that decision? Because like for me, it was almost like an injury. I got hurt. It was after the New York Giants, right after the Super Bowl. I had hurt my knee, and actually, it was a non-football injury, so you know how that works.
Wow.
And yeah. So out being stupid, and I remember when I got released, my contract was up. I got a call from Bill Belichick with the Patriots, and I remember talking to, it wasn't Bill, it was one of his assistants, but I just remember being like, yeah, I hurt my knee, I don't know. And I just remember it's kind of like you hear these older guys, well, I'm an older guy now, and you're working out, you're like, damn, I still feel like I just played a game yesterday. So for me, I didn't really get to retire like I wanted to. You know how people go, oh, I'm going to retire, make this. It was kind of like I got hurt. Then I realized, you know what? I'm going to hang it up. Like when you were done, was it something that you wanted to do where you feel like you were kind of forced out or?
I mean, yeah, looking at back from now, where, I knew that I gave my best years with the Cardinals, and just being on a roster on another team and not the starter,
Yeah.
it you start to see, okay,
The
this is
writing on
what
the
you can
wall.
provide. You're still a great player,
Yeah.
but like sometimes the finances might be different,
Yeah.
or they may be looking for newer competition, which I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
It was the great opportunity to get playing here for the hometown and having to go all the way to the Super Bowl, the pinnacle of my
Oh,
career.
that's right.
um
Yeah.
it's it's uh it's a great honor.
How did you feel with the Super Bowl? Because when I was with the Giants, I remember because it was here, so it wasn't. I guess I didn't really get overwhelmed by everything until I got there on game day because I'm home. I got my wife, I got my kids, so it kind of felt like being home. But then when the game started and going through that tunnel and they're playing the video and they're just building everything up, I remember even talking about it now. I get chills being in that tunnel. You're like, we're the only two teams playing. This is for all the marbles. Like I was scared. And that was the first time in my career I can honestly say I was scared to go out on a football field because I was just overwhelmed with emotions and just everything you could think of. Like, what was that Super Bowl like for you?
Exactly. It was such a big day,
Yeah.
I mean, you put so much effort to get
Mhm.
there. Not everybody gets to go to the Super
Right.
Bowl. And especially when we had the Cardinals culture not up to
Mm.
par. I
Yeah.
mean, we were still going there with doubts with the 9-7 record,
Mhm.
and people just doubting us. But we were able to prove ourselves throughout the playoffs, and
Yeah.
um, playing against the Steelers, it was a good matchup.
Yeah.
Great game by them. They made just great plays across the board, as I could remember. But I just love being a part of that culture shift,
Yeah.
because I was also a fan, like in the mid '90s,
Mhm.
watching the Cardinals
Yeah.
games, and so I was in that ASU stadium, that hot
Oh,
stadium, watching.
yes. Oh, that was miserable, man. So bad out there. God.
And so and then being able to play in the new stadium, it was tons different,
Yeah.
as a fan experience,
Mhm.
and as a player for the organization.
No, when I was with the Cardinals, it was during those bad times. It was just you come out there and by mid-season you've lost almost every game. So it just became so difficult to stay motivated because you're like, God, we're an NFL team. Why do we get getting our butts kicked like this? What is
Right.
going on? And it's like you said, it just became this culture. Like I know when I played there, they were a little frugal when it came to passing out stuff and
Oh
well,
wow.
where's your t-shirt from last time? And it was just little things that I was like, man, why are they so cheap? And then when I went to Seattle, it's like night and day. They're like, here you go, here you go, here you go. And little things like that. It's like the culture starts in the locker room. It starts with the players. It starts with the owners. So to see the team make that turn and to start getting better. And I remember when you guys were in North Carolina during that playoff run, I was there and I actually came to the game and I almost got beat up in the stands because I'm
Mm.
like, hell yeah, Cardinals, let's go. So I was just really excited for you guys because I'm like, I know these guys out here. I played here. So it's great because the environment, the landscape around here, they want to root for the Cardinals. And it's just like, give us something to root for.
Right. I mean, geez. Uh, just that climb all the way up, coming from 9-7 and finishing out, and then being doubted throughout the
Yeah.
playoffs. Um, I was there.
Yeah, you were there. Yeah, man, that's awesome, man. That's just like during that whole run. Did you just? Because I know for me during that run, it was just like every game we won, it was just so surreal, and I'm like, okay, well, we won the wild card. All right, no big deal. Then it's the next round.
Right.
Oh, we just won that. Now we're in the NFC, and it just was like we're at the Super Bowl.
Mm.
And it was just like unbelievable. And then, of course, that was when Eli made that throw and the catch, and I'm standing along the sideline watching it happen. Just like, so to be a part of that history was just not very many people get to be in that position, whether they win it or whether they lose it. It's only two teams out of 32. And I was just, man.
That's right. I mean, the end of the year, big game. You just can see all the hard work put in, and man, it was just we were so close.
Yeah. That had to be. So, what was that like in the locker room afterwards? Like, you guys come in there, like, was it anything really said other than the typical, hey, we bust our butts, you should be proud to be here? Like, how long did it take you to, like, just really stomach that?
Well, it's almost living it years later that you kind of see, um, it's very hard to get there,
Yes.
and so, um, man, just being there alone, we've had that sense of feel, but it was like unfinished work.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I've seen the Cardinals again get back to the NFC championship, and that's good to see. This is a changing culture, and I love this team. It would show throughout my play, just enjoying being here.
Yeah.
And so when I left, you just
A little heartbroken.
right,
Yeah.
it kind of takes the air out of you, the passion to play with.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh man, Arizona will always be home.
Now we're gonna talk about your kids real quick. So we were talking about that, and you have 6, correct?
Right.
How many boys? How many girls?
I have 4 boys, 2 girls.
Okay. And you said your oldest was 19.
Right.
How many football players you got?
I got 2 right now. I mean, the youngest is yet to play, but I'm sure he'll get in there in the mix. But they're playing for Red Mountain High School right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they play the same position?
They play offensive line, yeah. And so,
Come on, man, send them over to defense, baby.
I know.
We great athletes over there. These guys getting 150 to rush the passer now.
Or some skilled positions in the family.
Nah, man, no receivers. No, you don't want that. You want the big linemen. But like for me, when my son started playing football, and he was a little guy, he started playing in first grade. I took to him, and it was like, okay, I'm going to pour into you all the stuff that I wish that I knew. And I'm going to make sure that you, knowledge-wise, are at least better than me. Now, what you do with that is up to you. And, thank God that he's taken it, he's ran with it, and he's done great with it. Like, do you coach your kids, first of all? If you do, when you're coaching them, do you find yourself being like, okay, that's a mistake I made. Don't do that again. I want you to be better than me.
Absolutely. You want to give them a warning of what could possibly go wrong. And so, of course, you give them your mistakes first and a testimony of what not to do.
Yes.
And so I think I'm perfect at that point in my life right now on what not to do. And so, I coach them up, and I could tell when I'm being a little too coachy, I kind of back off.
Yeah.
And so,
does your wife have to come say something to you?
Of course, my coaching is better translated through the wife. And so it gets better received by the kids, and they've been in sporting. I've been watching them and going to their practices. They're in rugby right now, and I get to run with them. Just seeing them do a lot of the things Dad did growing up. They're doing it pretty well, without any high expectations.
My biggest thing for me, and like when I had my daughter first, so it was easy. You can baby them, you love on them. And I'm not going to say there's no expectation because that's not true. But the sports side, you're not pushing that on them as much. So when my son was born, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have a son. So my mind instantly went to football. We need to do it. I mean, we literally just found out my wife's pregnant and it's a boy. So I'm like, okay, checklist of football things. And it's like you said, you get out there and your passion and your love for the game. And it's like, if you're gonna do what I love, man, you're not gonna come out here, I'm tired, it's hot. Like, no, come on, let's go if you want to make it to a high level. And it just does my heart so much good when I talk to him and he just talks about like, Dad, you know, everything you've taught me and everything you've shown me, like I watch the other kids make those mistakes, but I don't do it. And it's just like, oh my God, thank you. Because, you know, he's so far away and you're always wondering, are they eating right? Are they doing all the things they're supposed to do? Are you going to church? Are you saying your prayer? Like everything that you've taught them and brought them up. And when you finally hear from them and they talk about it, especially now with him being a junior, he's 21, he's more like, I become more friend, advisor, and less do what I say, do what I say. So I know yours are young, but it's coming, man. And when you can sit down with your son and talk to him kind of like we are, and he opens up to you, you're gonna be like, oh my God, this is so great.
Oh man. Yeah, I've got those moments with my kids where I could, share different kind of perspectives without, them having to feel that, oh, this is dad talking to me.
Yeah.
This is just like we listen and we don't judge kind of
Yeah,
thing.
right. My family judges. They listen and judge.
But it's been great being a father to them, and especially while they're in high school, and you can kind of give them that visionary of playing football and what it did for me, and hopefully they can be part of that process. And so I'm more teaching them to kind of use the game to excel than have it burden them more,
Yeah. Because, I'm sure like you, well, no, you weren't. You had your cousin. You got that. You can't say that. For me, I was the first one in my family to make it to like college and play football and to make it to the pros. So everything for me was learning, tripping and falling. And it's like, man, I shouldn't have done this. And I'm looking back like, why did I spin that? And why did I do this? So for me, it was always with my kids. I want you to be better. I want you to do better. I want you to be better. How you carry yourself, everything that you do, I just don't want you to make these mistakes. And so when I do talk with him and he comes home, like he just recently had an injury and I went up there to check on him in December, and it was just like this enlightening moment that my little boy had just become a man.
Right.
And I just remember being so proud and listening to him, and it's like, yeah, I did that.
Yes.
It was like, yeah, I did that. So
of course,
to see him and then he comes back and mom is so happy and sister. And then with all this NIL, he's like, helping his sister. Hey, you need some money? So it's just wonderful.
Wow. That's a blessing.
Where do your kids want to go to school? Do they like they want to go to USC, or do they want to like blaze their own trail?
Of course, we're a big fan of USC as a family. I mean, we just love that school because I had my first son during the national championship. Okay. And so my wife was in labor during the game. We named him Return to the Champion, Liwaki Moihau, in Tongan.
Really?
Yeah. And so it was a good thing to have USC, kind of the story of me and my family. Mm-hmm. But as far as where they want to go, it may be two different things, and so we're just seeing as as they grow, hopefully they get opportunity and maybe pick that college. Yeah.
Because it was, when my son was looking at schools, and I remember people always being like, Carolina. And I was like, well, that'd be cool if he went back to Carolina. But my son, as much as he loves what I did in football, he wants to kind of blaze his own little trail and his own path of, I don't want to go to Carolina because now I'm just Russell Davis all over again. Oh, your dad this. Why don't you wear his number? This, your dad. And it's like he wants to escape that, and he wants to like forge his own path. And it's very, I love to see it because it's like, I'm glad you don't want to be dad. Take the good from me, but then you are Deuce. Go be Deuce and whatever comes with that. So That's why. No, I just do. It's like being a father or being a parent to me is just one of the greatest things you can do. And just to take a child and raise them up and show them the way they should go. And then when they get old enough and you're watching them, you be like, baby, we did that.
Right. Oh,
You're
yeah.
just so proud of them.
Of course, I'm enjoying that stage right now, just being their father and slash mentor, and provider and protector for them. That they, always have the sources to be successful, and I just being that parent to show up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so much to be said about just showing up, man. They see your face and they just light up and they're like, oh yeah, okay, I got my motivation and go, go, go.
Exactly.
Because my daughter did dance when she was young, and that's my firstborn. So whenever I would go to her dance recitals, I was like a football dad indoors. I had the bright pink shirts on that said Morgan's dad across the front. I had the crazy colors, and I'd be in there, let's go, baby. And people would look like, I'd be like, my bad, I'm making too much noise at a dance competition. So
Right.
I'm like that over the top dad that you're always gonna hear, and you're gonna know I'm there. I'm gonna support. If nobody else is supporting that kid, this one right here is doing it.
Nice.
So, but yeah, I got a question for you now. Deuce is your nickname. What is your full name, like your real name?
Taitusi.
Hold on, say it again.
So it's spelled with T's,
Uh-huh.
Taitusi. So, but it's pronounced like a D, Taitusi.
Deucey.
So that's where I got Deuce from.
Oh,
My
okay.
family called me Deucey.
Oh, okay. That's my son's. Well, that's his behind closed door. Like my wife will call him Deucey, and grandma calls him Deucey. So I
Yeah.
think that's funny. Like you're this big guy, you got this little soft nickname. Like, oh, this is my baby. So now I can tell him he doesn't have to make a like. Dad, I don't like when they call me Deucey. Whatever, man. You
Oh
love
yeah.
it.
I mean, Coach Russ Grimm would call me Deucey in the O-line room. And some people would catch it. They're like, "Hey, you gonna let him call you that?" I was like, "That's my real name."
That's just like with mine. It's like everybody thinks his real name is Deuce. No, his real name is Russ, and they're like, "For real? I didn't know that." Yeah, Deuce.
R2, yeah.
But yeah, man, I appreciate you coming in, brother. It was a great time sitting there talking to you, man. I appreciate
Man,
it.
thank
Thanks a
you,
lot.
thank you, man. Sorry, I'm like
No, you're
lost.
good, man. It's hot as hell in here. Whew. Thanks for tuning in to The Route. Don't forget to subscribe and connect with us on socials for exclusive updates. We'll see you next week.